Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is CB Harris. Welcome back to the Monday SITREP. This is the show where we talk about your Second Amendment rights, your rights to own and bear arms, as well as we discuss people who use those firearms to protect themselves, their loved ones, their property, and belongings. And we also, at the end of the show, we have a segment called What's New, where we talk about gear and things like that are firearms related, sometimes knives, I guess, as well. But we talk about something that's new in the market. So let's start out today. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. Really what it comes down to is my thoughts on the Second Amendment. I was recently reading an article. Again, I hear and read another thing about closing loopholes. It really got me thinking. Why that terminology? Why do we hear closing loopholes terminology? Why do we hear anti-gun people talking about gun safety? Why do we hear them talking about common sense initiatives? Why do we hear all these things? And I'll tell you what it is. It's because they know that their extreme, gun confiscation really starts to really set people off. So they're trying to use language that maybe is a little less threatening or sounds less threatening to the common person. Obviously, the gun owners, the real Second Amendment patriots, they see right through that. But to the average Joe, the average Jane, common sense, that sounds perfect. Common sense. Closing loopholes. A loophole sounds like something bad. Like, there's a way to get away with something criminal and we're just trying to fix the problem. That's what it sounds like to the average person in America. When they talk about, hey, we're just doing this for public safety. I mean, it can touch those people's minds and make them think, oh yes, definitely, we need public safety. So that's why they do this. And what it comes down to is exposing that. As a person who believes in their Second Amendment rights, we need to call them out on it. We need to call them out on that as a blatant lie. Okay? Gun safety means taking care of your firearm, means making sure you follow safety rules. It does not mean regulating the size of my magazine. It does not mean regulating and telling me I cannot own a semi-automatic sporting rifle. That is not gun safety. That is gun confiscation. That is gun restriction. That is infringement upon my Second Amendment rights. So, what does the Second Amendment mean to me? Now let's read it first. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So, let's break that down. I recently saw another article, again, talking about, militias. And what is a militia? Well, let's consider this. A lot of anti-gun people will say, well, the National Guard, they're allowed to have firearms. We give them a firearm to use. And these are all the way up to and including all the weapons of war that the United States has. And that is correct, it is. However, there wasn't a National Guard in 1776. There was no such thing. There was not a National Guard Bureau. There were not people who did it as a full-time job, because in the National Guard, there are full-time Guard individuals. Instead, what we had were farmers, business owners, landowners, people. We had Americans. They may not have been called Americans at the time, but they were. They were just you and me. They were just your average person wanting to protect themselves. I know that you've all heard, people saying, well, the Second Amendment, that only protects muskets. Haha. But they forget this. In the Battle of Lexington and Concord, the British weren't going to confiscate muskets. They were going to confiscate cannons. Okay? Cannons. The militia at the time had all the weapons of war that were available. Anything that they could get, they had, including warships, including cannons. So to say that it only applies to a musket would be like, I don't even know. It's the analogy, I know you've all heard it, is that, okay, well, if that's the case, then the freedom of the press only applies to the quill and ink, things that are written that way, and doesn't apply to the internet. But I don't agree with that either. Obviously, that's more of an analogy. But the fact is, it applies to all the weapons of war. The Second Amendment is to prevent tyranny. This is what it was written for. When we wrote our Constitution, we had just come out of a war for freedom. And we didn't want was to go back to the way things were. The freedoms that were being restricted, we didn't want that. We wanted to have the freedom of the press, because the press was being regulated and run and basically was under the thumb of the British rule and forced to only report the things that they were being told to report. The Second Amendment comes about because they were being required to give up their firearms, and that's kind of what touched everything off. And so we were trying to prevent those things from happening in the future by a government in the future. We need to vote people in that will help us out, and we need to vote people out of office that are infringing upon our rights. Not just our Second Amendment right, but all of our rights. So definitely we need to do things the right way, but who knows? Maybe again it will get to that point. I hope not. I seriously and truly hope it doesn't ever get to the point of revolution again. But that's what the whole point of our Constitution is. That's what the point of our Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, that's the point of that, is that these are the rights that need to be protected, and if they are not being protected, then we need to do something about it. So those are my thoughts on the Second Amendment. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on the Second Amendment, obviously, but it truly is it's a wonderful statement, okay? It's only a couple of lines. It's really only one line with a comma in it, and that's what really throws some people off. But it's a very small verse, but it means so much, because it is blatantly clear to me when it says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Our rights are already infringed, people. They already are. They are under attack every single day. And we, as a people, as Americans, need to push back. Tell them it's not okay. Make our voices heard. Fight the good fight. Absolutely, that's what we need to do. Okay, so next on the Life or Death Files, I'm going to talk about a couple of different incidents that have happened recently. First incident I'm going to talk about is kind of funny, if you ask me. This takes place in Las Vegas, and what it is, we have some Pokemon Go players. Okay, they're out and about looking for whatever it is they do. I don't know. I don't play Pokemon Go, so I really don't have a clue really what it's about. But they were out and about, and somebody decided they were going to hold them up. Well, one of the Pokemon Go players was exercising their Second Amendment rights and carrying, and a shootout ensued. And some people were hurt, nobody killed, but yes, even Pokemon Go players, as much as they may be annoying, watching them wandering around the streets or the parks in our United States, they still have a right to protect themselves, absolutely. And in this case, the Pokemon Go player did just that, and didn't even have to use a Pikachu to do it. Okay, the next story, this one's out of North Carolina, and a 13-year-old girl, she's at home alone. Well, I say alone. She's home without her parents. Her 12-year-old sister is with her. Some people come to the door. They're trying to break in. 3 intruders. The 13-year-old retrieves a rifle, and basically wielding that rifle scares off the intruders. This is an ideal situation as far as protecting yourself goes, especially for a 13-year-old. Obviously, ideal would be not to be put in that situation at all, but to not have to actually shoot and possibly kill somebody is ideal, if you ask me. To be able to just scare them away, that is great. It's great for her. She doesn't have to live with the thought of that she may have killed somebody as well. So definitely ended well for them. Okay, so next on What's New, it's an item from Blue Force Gear. So an American company making stuff for our old enemies, I guess you could say.
So, what's new?
So what this is the standard AK sling from Blue Force Gear, and basically what it comes down, it's a Vickers sling. If you know Blue Force Gear and have seen the Vickers sling, it's really a standard. It really is become that. I know as far as where I work, I train a lot of active duty Air Force where I work, and honestly, nearly every rifle that comes through there, every M4 that comes through there, has a Blue Force Gear Vickers sling on it. I would say at least 95% of them. And it is a very good sling. It has adjustments for quick adjustments. It's not a lot of adjustments, so you have to kind of get it in the range of where you're going to want it. But it is very handy to have that as well. And now they're making something for our old enemies, for our AK-47 people who like those, which I happen to be a big fan of the AK-47. What it is, really, they've taken a Vickers sling and they've added a wire loop on the front end of that, and it allows it really to hook just about anywhere. If you guys know, the standard kind of attachment points are a little bit smaller than American standards, so it's hard to get a decent sized sling strap through those things. So this really negates all of that, and it makes it a lot easier to handle. That wire loop, really, it's not going to break or anything like that. It's going to take a lot of time before it ever broke. I think that is a better option than using something like parachute cord, which I'm not saying is a bad option, but I think this is a lot better option. So be sure to check that out from Blue Force Gear. It's definitely something I'm going to look into for my AK. The Vickers sling, it's not a very expensive item. I'll leave all the information down below. As always, I like to put links to everything, so be sure to check all that out. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the show today, and if you did, it's always appreciated when you like and share the videos. And if you're not a subscriber and you want to become one, find that subscribe button right down there, give it a big old click, and then come back next Monday for another Monday SITREP. Remember that your mind, that is your most important tool, so it is vitally important to be armed with information. Until next time, take care and be safe. Charlie Bravo out.